Noble Lies, Part 3, Agents of Chaos. Yohanan, John, chapter 8, verses 44 to 45. You are of your father the devil, and the desires of your father you wish to do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and has not stood in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaks the lie, he speaks of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. And because I speak the truth, you do not believe me. Hazon, Revelation chapter 12, verses 7 to 9. And there came to be fighting in the heaven. Michael and his messengers fought against the dragon. And the dragon and his messengers fought, but they were not strong enough, nor was a place found for them in the heaven any longer. And the great dragon was thrown out, that serpent of old, called the devil and Satan, who leads all the world astray. He was thrown to the earth, and his messengers were thrown out with him. Hazon, Revelation chapter 17, verses 1 through 6. And one of the 7 messengers who had the 7 bowls came and spoke with me, saying to me, Come, I shall show you the judgment of the great whore sitting on many waters, with whom the sovereigns of the earth committed whoring, and the inhabitants of the earth were made drunk with the wine of her whoring. And he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast, covered with names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was dressed in purple and scarlet, and adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls, holding in her hand a golden cup filled with abominations and the filthiness of her whoring. And upon her forehead a name written, a secret, Babel the Great, the mother of the whores and of the abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the set-apart ones, and with the blood of the witnesses of Yahusha. And having seen her, I marveled, greatly marveled.
The individuals and institutions subsidized by the CIA were expected to perform as part of a broad campaign of persuasion, of a propaganda war in which propaganda was defined by national security directives as, quote, any organized effort or movement to disseminate information or a particular doctrine by means of news, special arguments, or appeals designed to influence the thoughts and actions of any given group. A vital constituent of this effort was psychological warfare, which was defined as the planned use by a nation of propaganda and activities other than combat, which communicate ideas and information intended to influence the opinions, attitudes, emotions, and behavior of foreign groups in ways that will support the achievement of national aims. Further, the most effective kind of propaganda was defined as the kind where the subject moves in the direction you desire for reasons which he believes to be his own.
Just type into Google, black on white crime statistics, and you'll get this from the federal government.
How long have you felt this way? I mean, I guess my question is, was there ever a time where you...
Right, well, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
The first thing that, I guess I could say, I would say woke me up, would be the Trayvon Martin case, and that was a while back.
Right.
What was it, 2 years ago? And, I kept hearing about this kid, and I'm like, eventually I decided to, look his name up, just type him into Google, you know what I'm saying? And then I read the Wikipedia article about Trayvon Martin, and I couldn't understand what the big deal was, you see what I'm saying? And then, for some reason, after I read that, I typed in, for for some reason it made me type in the words black on white crime, and that was it. Ever since then.
Just type into Google black on white crime statistics, and you'll get this from the federal government. 25 times more likely, less likely for a white to attack a black. So 25 times. Here's the one time a white attacks a black, FBI crime statistics. Here is the 25 times a black attacks a white. I mean, these are real numbers, and I'm not bashing all black people, but I grew up to not be a racist. And then I was wondering why big black guys kept attacking me. Well, that was because they were racist black guys in Dallas and were in gangs. So here you go. And it goes through all the numbers. Just search engine, black on white crime statistics, Department of Justice. And it even gets into how whites are 4 times the population of blacks, but it doesn't matter. You have a white attack 25 times for every time a black is attacked. But you wouldn't believe that watching Quentin Tarantino movies, because he's ultra rich and in with the Silicon Valley guys in a rear guard action to just make sure America fights with each other while the globalists rob everybody. Because I want everybody to live together in peace.
Well, that goes to the next question. Why did you have to do it?
Oh, I had to do it.
How come? I mean, that's what I don't know.
Well, I had to do it because somebody had to do something. Because, black people are killing white people every day on the streets. And they rape white women, 100 white women a day. That's an FBI statistic from 2005. Yeah, that's 10 years ago. It might even be more now, who knows. It sounds unrealistic, but you break it down, that's 2 a state. It's really not unrealistic at all. It could not be more. The fact of the matter is, what I did is so minuscule to what they're doing to white people every day, all the time. And just because that doesn't get on the news doesn't mean it's not happening. Everybody knows that the news is biased for black people. We can pretend it's not, but we know it is.
They want us fighting with each other over what color we are. I went and ate at a nice restaurant Wednesday night on East 6th Street, a gentrified area, and had somebody try to mug us. Basically said, give me money. I'm real mad and bowed up. And I just said, listen, we're not going to give you money. And it was a black guy doing it to us. And then one of my crew members went out Saturday, almost got mugged downtown by people pulled out knives and we're going to kill you, whitey. I don't hate black people because there's a bunch of racist black people out attacking whites. But see, the media won't cover it because it's political correctness. And they've so energized some black folks with hatred, they believe it's okay to go out and attack whites. You can't even go into downtown Austin, basically anywhere. I want to warn everybody. You just go out, you will deal with black Ku Klux Klan people, basically. Look at this statistic, USA crime statistics. Blacks killed by whites, 2%. Blacks killed by police, 1%. Whites killed by police, 3%. Whites killed by whites, 16%. Whites killed by blacks, 81%. 81% of whites killed was by blacks. Blacks killed by blacks, 97%. And that's the same number today. I mean, if you're worried about black people, you can worry about black folks killing you. But see, it doesn't matter. You get a couple hundred blacks getting killed every year by cops, and sometimes it's wrong. You'd think that's the end of the world.
Are you aware that the liberal media and the Democratic Party in general are trying to paint you as a racist? Are you aware of that?
I think so, but I think people know better than that. I'm probably the least racist person on earth.
Well, I've known you a long time, and I never saw any racism from you. However, when you tweet out a thing, and this bothered me, I got to tell you, you tweeted out that whites killed by blacks, these were statistics you picked up from somewhere, at a rate of 81%. And that's totally wrong. Whites killed by blacks is 15%. Yet you tweeted it was 81%. Now,
Bill, I didn't tweet. I retweeted somebody that was supposedly an expert.
But you don't
and it was also a radio show.
Why do you want to be in that zone?
Hey, Bill, am I going to check every statistic? I get millions and millions of people.
You got it. You're a presidential contender. You got to check. I have millions of people.
You know what? Fine. But this came out of radio shows and everything else.
Oh, come on,
All
radio
it was
shows?
A retweet. I didn't say. Excuse me. All it was is a retweet. It wasn't from me, and it did. It came out of a radio show and other places because you see all the names.
Look, you know I'm looking out for you, right? You know that? Yeah, I'm looking out for you. I look out for every honest politician. I don't care what party they're in. Don't do this. Don't put your name on stuff like this, because it makes the other side, it gives them stuff to tell the ill-informed voter that you're a racist. I mean, you just handed them the platter.
This was a retweet. I'm sure you're looking out for me. Everybody is, right?
Yeah.
This was a retweet. This was a retweet.
All right, whatever it is.
And it came
I told
from
you
sources
shouldn't tweet
that are
ever.
Very credible.
You shouldn't be tweeting. Don't tweet. Give it up for Lent. Lent is coming soon.
Okay,
give it up. All right, final question.
You know what? I like it. Can I tell you what? I like it because I can get also my point of view out there, and my point of view is very important to a lot of people that are looking.
George Soros talking points about me on air anymore. I'm going to tell folks, not stuff I know from knowing you personally about 20 years, but about that damn CIA operation here in Austin.
Then recently, because I haven't had him on the podcast, he decided to start saying that I work for the CIA and that I'm George Soros talking points, which I don't even know what these fucking talking points are.
He literally says, I don't follow talking points. I follow Media Matters that's owned and run by George Soros.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Who else? Alex Jones. He's the biggest,
I love Alex Jones.
The most downloads. Alex beat everybody by a fuckload. Yeah, man. It was interesting.
So here's my theory on Alex Jones. Just if you want to go there.
Okay.
I love going there. So I think he's a government plot.
He's not. I'll tell you that for sure. I've known him forever. I've known Alex since 1998. He's not a government plot.
He couldn't tell you because you would tell everybody.
He's not. I've hung out with that guy. I get high with him. Drunk with him. He's a fun dude. He is a guy who started out as a guy who was against the president. He was against George W. Bush. When W. Bush, I don't even think he was running for president at the time, right? Or was he? When was it? When did Bush become? No, Clinton was president. Yeah, Clinton was president. George W. was the governor of Texas. And he was getting arrested for protesting against them, protesting against the global elitists and all these different things. Right. He didn't really become a supporter of any form of government until Trump. I mean, Trump is like the first guy, and he may or may not be getting played by Trump, where, you know, Trump's his buddy. And I mean, Trump is he's a slick guy in terms of how he cultivates influence.
He's an anomaly for sure. Right?
So he's an interesting character in a lot of ways. I mean, if it wasn't.
So shoot down my theory though, completely. And it's just a theory. I'm not. I don't promulgate it as fact or anything. But I've always thought that Alex Jones was built by the government to make conspiracy theorists look like loons.
He didn't used to make them look like loons.
And in this show today, we're going to go over some of the things that was said in this article, especially an incident that Alex Jones has wanted buried forever. And this is the night that he got his ass kicked in a parking lot and then threatened to, or maybe he did, snitch to the FBI.
He did.
The FBI that he says he has relatives in. So, please.
Yeah. Shelley Tumbleson is a cable access producer and actually worked at the same station as Alex Jones in Austin, Texas. So this guy knows him firsthand, and it's curious that this doesn't get talked about more on the internet, but, you know...
Brother. Now, Lisa, let's get to it. Let's get to the big fight. And right here, let's set this up that...
The parking lot?
The parking lot fight.
This is called the parking lot incident.
Yeah, and this is notorious in Austin alternative media. And, you know, instead of telling the story, why don't we just... I'm going to have Lisa read it, and this...
Okay, a fellow producer related this story to Shelley Tumbleson. Tumbleson almost would have... Well, he would have been there, but he didn't want to be where Alex Jones was, so somebody else told him about it that works with him. Alex challenged a man to step outside into the parking lot. This man had ridiculed him, I guess called him a jarhead.
Yeah.
I mean, it was common there to call him Jarhead Jones.
Yeah, and this guy would call into Alex's show and prank him, okay?
Yeah, and so Alex didn't like him calling it. He would do it to all the shows, but apparently he really liked calling in and pranking Alex. And so he challenges this guy to step outside. This man, Steve, they're calling him Steve, took him up on it. The guy said, okay, let's go. Now, Alex...
Just read it verbatim. Just read it.
Okay, he said he challenged a man to step outside. The man took him up on it and whipped him like the little bitch that he is. Not being able to accept defeat, Alex claimed that 4 men with knives attacked him to stifle his free speech. Okay, many of us have been that humiliated in our lifetimes, but then he got Daddy to call in a favor, and he actually got the FBI to go to this defunct bookstore, now defunct, named Fringeware, to find this guy's address. He did this by concocting a story of the guy, supposedly the guy that he was in a fight with, being one of the leaders of a terrorist organization, and he also made charges that this guy had child pornography. Now, remember when Alex was at the border, the Canadian border? What was one of the things he said that they suspected him of, supposedly? Having child pornography on his computer. Interesting.
Yeah, and why would this keep coming up like that?
But there's something else. Here, look, when the cops came, the cops were called, okay? When the cops came in, of course, Alex was the one bleeding all over the place. When the cops came, Alex was ranting and changing his story with each breath. Began to talk of his importance and his family's wealth and his relatives in the FBI.
Wait, let me read this before we get to it. There's another part of it. This is a long article, and it goes all over the place.
We're trying to pick excerpts.
Okay, so upon arriving, C and Company, a total of 3 guys, were talking to whoever was at the desk, and Sir Jarhead, the Booger Elf, a.k.a. Jarhead, recognized his voice and began to berate him as best his little mind could manage. C is actually very smart, and he was calmly pointing out Jarhead's swelling example of fascism. Jarhead became louder and louder, begging C to step outside. This is when Steve said, and I quote, "I can't believe you're acting like this because he called you a jarhead." He spun around and focused his fury on this guy. When he said, "Step outside and I'll whip you like my bitch," this guy said, "Okay, let's go," and led the way. Okay? Jarhead then hesitates, then followed, as did Charlie from this guy and another guy named Kanya. Okay? So Jarhead's next, this is all right from the
I
article.
think that's a woman.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, Jarhead's next brave move was to announce that he had a gun and began foraging around in his truck. Steve said, "Oh, now you're going to shoot me, you pussy?" Jarhead came from the truck with his hand in his pocket and slowly advanced towards Steve. Steve retreated 2 or 3 steps, then said, "Then shoot me," and promptly nailed Jarhead with a right hook. They both just stood there for what seemed like a long time. Then Steve let many more fly. Jarhead tried to throw one. That's right, one punch, which grazed Steve's nose, like flicking at a booger. At this point, Iggy came out of the studio. Jarhead saw him and screamed for him to go get Bob. So they went in to get reinforcement for Alex. So Bob came running out to see Jarhead bleeding profusely and shouting, "They jumped me with knives!" Charlie disputed this, so Jarhead spit blood on him. So Charlie, bless him, punched him right in a mason jar of a head. So when the cops came, Jarhead was ranting and changing his story with each breath and began to talk of his importance and his family's wealth and his relatives and the FBI. Wow. Now, Lisa, a few months ago we got criticized.
It's such a classic visual.
Yeah, here's Alex bleeding all over the place, ranting and raving that he's going to call.
No, the part about the guy, the guy's punching him in the nose.
Yeah.
After Alex spit on him.
Yeah. Alex spits blood on him, so the guy pops him another one in the head. Yeah. So
yeah, we did get a lot of heat. See, we actually were attacked.
Yeah.
By psychos. We really were attacked by a bunch of thugs on the internet.
And as we said,
and we did have to call the law. But look what Alex did years ago.
Yeah. And see, as I said, anybody, any man out there that would see the type of abuse that Lisa had to endure, if this happened to their mother, their wife, or their sister or daughter, and it's still happening. If this would happen to any of their wives or mothers or daughters or sisters, they would do the absolute thing. Yet all of Alex Jones's little groupies conveniently seem to forget that Alex was the one that challenged this guy to a fight.
Oh, by the way, Alex knows that people have been reading this this parking lot incident, this guy Tumbleson's website, synesthetic.com, and Tumbleson's friend told him Alex wants this removed. And of course it's not still removed, but just in case it is, we have it on our website.
Yeah, exactly, and this one won't be removed. So Alex challenges the guy to a fight. Alex is the one popping off to him. Alex is the one that challenges him to go out in the parking lot.
Yeah, Alex started the whole thing, and it reminds me of Bolin.
Yeah.
With the police.
Yeah. So when they go out, when the guy says, yeah, let's go out in the parking lot, then Alex is taken aback, and he knows that if he doesn't go out, then he's going to look like a big pussy. So what does Alex do? He says he has a gun in his truck.
And so what does he do? The finger in the pocket?
Yeah. like 5-year-old kids used to do when they're playing cowboys and Indians. So this guy whoops Alex's ass. Alex is bleeding all over the place.
And it turns out that the people that didn't get charges pressed against Alex tried to get them in trouble with the law. He made up a story about the guy being a leader of a terrorist organization and having child porn to get the feds drawn into it. And the feds ended up looking into it and dropping the matter.
Yeah. So now
So where's your proof, Alex?
Yeah. So why aren't all these people talking about Alex Jones calling the FBI?
Yeah.
Alex Jones being a narc. Alex Jones being a snitch.
Because when you're one with God, like Alex is, you can do anything you want, and people won't bat an eye.
Yeah. Now, this is a notorious story in Austin, Texas. Everybody in the alternative media and the Patriot movement knows about it.
Well,
and now
we have to tell Alex's side of it.
Okay.
According to Alex's version, Alex got jumped by 4 thugs with knives.
Yeah.
Now, he walked away from this uncut. And okay, except he was bleeding because he got punched in the nose and he got popped a few times by the guy that he mouthed off to begin with. But if you're jumped by four men with knives, how do you come away from that without a cut on you?
And what Alex's people did then
a knife cut.
Was start calling all these little radio shows and telling Alex's side of the story.
That's what happened the next day.
Yeah.
He had all his minions call every radio and access show to tell his side of the story.
That Alex was jumped by 4 terrorists.
And then when Tumbleson's, the anti-Alex camp tried to call those same shows to present the other side of the story, they were not allowed to.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Just like Radio Free Austin.
That doesn't happen now, does it?
It's racial. But you're not going to hear Jesse Jackson or any of the white liberals talk about it. Let's play this Ben Stein clip from Fox News where he says Obama's the most racist president there's ever been. Hey, I know this. He sure promotes it. And there's sure been this green light put out that being white is inherently evil or even Hispanic.
What the fuck are you guys talking about?
I've been racially attacked by black people. Probably, let's not exaggerate, 35 times. I've been racially attacked by Hispanics. Let's not exaggerate, 5 times. Let me tell you, that's when you really get hurt bad. And, compound fractures, you name it. Oh yeah, you get hurt real bad. And the whole point is I am sick of it. I am sick of the fact that I have been racially attacked over and 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 over. And the politically correct thing to do is just offer your kids up to have their noses broken and their eyes black and their bones broken. Because the one thing you don't do is ever go stand up against it. Now, that said, that's what political correctness is in this country. But the point is, I have experienced full-grown black men out of high school who've been out of prison. Large black men, we're talking 6'3", 6'4", physically attacked me at Sonics and things when I was 14 years old because I put their little cousin in the hospital. Well, your little cousin rammed my head in the ground. So, of course, I started punching him in the throat. And I'm sorry they had to do a tracheotomy on him. He attacked me. And, by the way, it was the best thing ever happened to me. I'm not a victim. The look in people's eyes when they think they're going to hurt me, and I started turning it loose on them, and I started getting them on the ground and ramming their head in the ground, it was good. It was good times. And then it was like, who's this little guy that thinks he's tough? I had to beat the hell out of the rednecks when they started fights with me. But the point is that I was fighting for my life. It's the reason I could kick ass. I'm not looking for fights. I don't want to fight. But the average black person's never had a white person physically attack them. I'll guarantee you, every white person I know that went to a school that was 20, 30, 40, 50% black got attacked constantly. And so I get to see this slimy, racist dirtbag. Why do you think most white kids in schools adopt fake black culture, which they get beat up for now, too? That's cool. Because they're trying to not get their ass kicked. You know, I was in high school when I was 15 and had 4 Mexicans who had mustaches in high school. They flunked so many times, break my leg. All because I had talked to a girl that one of them had dated. And they came to my house in the middle of the night and knocked on the door, and I came out, and they attacked me right there in the parking lot. And the first guy stood up for an attack, and so I knocked his ass down, and then I knocked another guy, and then all of them jumped on me and stomped my leg, screaming, F you, gringo. F you, gringo. And I got a pin in my leg to this day from it. Broke my leg at the ankle. There aren't Mexicans and black people, 1 out of 1,000, ever had white people do jack crap to them. And all over the United States, and here in Austin, everybody I talk to has seen it, I've seen it. If you're white and out in areas, you're told get off the street day or night. You're at a park, you're told get out of here. The kids sing, black kids, the Beyonce song from the Super Bowl and say, Black Power, we're going to beat your butt if you don't get out of here. And the muggings and attacks happen, and the knockout games happen. It's all over the news. Everybody knows about it, and it's defended as good. Because if you're a white woman or a white man walking down the street, even with your kids, you deserve to have your teeth knocked out. You dirty, filthy cracker. You know, I've never really seen a lot of white racism in my life. I really haven't. I've seen whites scared because the media makes them scared of everybody and overly guilty. But I have been in East Texas, pulled over at 16 years of age with a half-drunk 6-pack of beer. 2 girls in the car, my buddy coming back from the beach, driving back to Dallas. And because we both had blonde hair, the sheriff deputy rolled up his sleeve with a big swastika and said, Heil Hitler, enjoy your beer. And I remember driving off going, man, it'd suck if you were black and got pulled over by that guy. Against a race war because I'm afraid. They think I'm against a race war because I'm scared I'm going to get killed. No, it's the opposite. I'm scared you're going to get killed. I've got security. I've got firearms. I live defended, behind a gate, behind walls. If there's a race war in this country, it's going to be the minorities that share the main brunt of the slaughterhouse. And welcome back here on InfoWars Nightly News and this Friday evening edition. Now, we've already seen civil unrest at record levels since the 60s here in the United States, mainly Bernie and Hillary supporters, attacking our own Jakari Jackson, hitting him with a rock, attacking police horses with barricades they're throwing at people. The New York Times calling, for somebody to kill Trump. Glenn Beck saying he wants to stab him. The establishment media, the leftists, are really trying to destabilize this country from my historical research. But Tim Kennedy, Green Beret, tours all over the world, famous UFC fighter, obviously, has also worked in some of the most elite units that deal with continuity of government and things like that. Now, he didn't tell me that. I know folks that are involved in that, and they say he's one of the top guys. But he says, yes, I'm an expert, and that he can speak to it. And so I want him to kind of repeat to us what he said behind the scenes about how concerned he is about what is coming, what is already here, and how bad it could get, and how we stop it and maintain our free, open republic. Because make no mistake, the Soros-backed globalists want civil disobedience, civil emergencies, riots, looting, race war to bring in even greater control later. They're pushing this to take everybody's free speech in the end. So for about 8 minutes we have left here in this final segment of InfoWars Nightly News tonight, I'm going to give the floor to Tim Kennedy.
It's a scary thing coming up. You know, what we know is coming is the perfect petri dish for bad things to happen. You don't see riots in Chicago in the middle of winter. It's too cold. People don't want to go outside, right? So for really civil unrest to happen, you have to have a bunch of little things that set up for the perfect situation. You have to have a reason, right? People are so emotionally involved in this presidential election right now, and finally, for the first time, realizing that there's something wrong with our country, that there's been like the existential perspective that the eyes are open, eyes wide open. We know that something's not right. The racial segregation that, you know, like, even though we have a president saying, I'm trying to break down borders, we've never had so much hate between different racial segments, which is disheartening and concerning. But what's even more scary is we know that all of these things individually are setting up for the perfect opportunity for serious civil unrest. And now that we're moving into summer, we're moving into the presidential election, we're moving into us sending troops back into Iraq. We're looking at groups and segments of people that are supporting specific presidential nominees that are losing their guy, that are furious over the fact that, you know, Ted Cruz, you know, the never Trump people, or the never Hillary people, or the never Sanders people. All those people are losing their guys, and they're only going to have two options. And now we have a perfect, conducive environment for some serious problems. You think riots in, you know, Missouri was bad? Just wait until July. Just wait until August.
So if the dominoes are set up and lined up and Soros and others want to kick them over, what do we do?
Now, you say dominoes. I say the gasoline. You know, like the trench has been dug and it is just full of accelerants. You know, like you have every single thing for that fire to just explode. And now...
So the climate's perfect.
Yes, the climate is perfect. The temperature is perfect. Everything is right for things to go really
So if the planets are aligning, and most analysts are saying that, it's happening all over the world. We've seen some of the globalists fund the Arab Spring to put radical Muslims in and other things. How do we counter this? I mean, educating the public?
Being prepared, first of all, you know, as an individual, you have to get ready. You have to do all the little things that, you know, don't think that people don't care if people think that you're crazy. Don't think that you're being a fanatic, that you're being a prepper. I am only responsible for my family. My family's going to have food. My family's going to have water. We are going to be safe. And if you think I'm crazy because I want to make sure my family's protected, fine, that's the way it is. But as an individual, you need to look and research about ways that you need to prepare for what would happen in whatever city you live in. If you're in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and Trump comes to town and the whole entire city loses its mind, they're breaking horses' legs, they're throwing Molotov cocktails. That's in May, before we even have him as a nominee. What do you think is going to happen in August, when we're just a couple of months away from the election, when things are really ripe? It can get bad, and it can get bad fast. You need to do the research and figure out what you have to do to really prepare to make sure that your family's safe. And now, nationally, they are inciting and encouraging racial wars and riots. And if you want to be able to shut people up, you have to use fear. So the definition of terrorism is to use fear or violence as a tool, as a weapon to achieve your objectives, right? If you're a politician, you can use that same fear to take away freedoms, to pass acts that give you access to every single iPhone out there. Be like, no, it's a terrorist. We need to be able to get inside of that guy's phone. He's really bad. Just give us access to all iPhones so that so we can protect you. That's terrorism in my definition. You're using fear as a weapon to gain more
Absolutely.
Freedom.
Wow, Tim Kennedy, that was powerful info. The whole country, the whole world's in danger of escalated civil unrest, like Google financing the Arab Spring to just bring in that tyranny, and these vultures sit on top of it. You're getting folks ready with sheepdogresponse.com.
Further, the most effective kind of propaganda was defined as the kind where the subject moves in the direction you desire for reasons which he believes to be his own. The individuals and institutions subsidized by the CIA were expected to perform as part of a broad campaign of persuasion, of a propaganda war in which propaganda was defined by national security directives as, quote, any organized effort or movement to disseminate information or a particular doctrine by means of news, special arguments, or appeals designed to influence the thoughts and actions of any given group. A vital constituent of this effort was psychological warfare, which was defined as the planned use by a nation of propaganda and activities other than combat, which communicate ideas and information intended to influence the opinions, attitudes, emotions, and behavior of foreign groups in ways that will support the achievement of national aims.